They say time buries the past, but in North Africa, time does more than bury. It swallows. Across endless dunes and sunlit stone, there once stood cities. Great cities, full of voices, fires, markets, music, prayers. Cities with carved marble gates and courtyards that opened to the sea. Now there is only wind, and the sand remembers more than we do. Hello again. I am Clio, keeper of the archives. These are not tales of kingdoms we always learn about. No, these are stories carved into forgotten maps and buried beneath silence, conquest, and centuries of dust. Tonight, we will walk together through cities lost, not by accident, but often by design. Some were raised in war, some rewritten by victors, others simply erased. But their stones are still warm with memory, and I believe memory always finds a way back. Come closer, let me tell you a story. Before the fire, there was brilliance. Carthage was born from the sea. A Phoenician colony founded around 814 BCE on the coast of modern-day Tunisia. The legend says Queen Dido fled Tyre, a powerful city in the eastern Mediterranean, and founded Carthage by tricking a local king into giving her as much land as a bull's hide could cover. She sliced the hide into thin strips and claimed an entire hill. The city flourished. Carthage became the beating heart of Western Phoenician civilization. Its harbors were feats of engineering, twin ports, one for merchants and one for the navy, protected by towering walls. Its sailors mapped unknown coasts. Its merchants traded in silver, ivory, textiles, glass, and their prized purple dye. And its navy, vast and disciplined, ruled the waves of the Western Mediterranean. Carthage wasn't just powerful, it was cultured. It had laws, libraries, temples, and a senate. It minted coins, hosted philosophers, and became a center for learning. But it was also feared. To Rome, Carthage was everything it was not: rich, foreign, and unbending. They fought 3 brutal Punic wars, where the Carthaginian general Hannibal led elephants across the Alps to crush Roman armies. But brilliance breeds enemies. And after centuries of rivalry, Rome decided Carthage must not just fall, it must be forgotten. In 149 BCE, during the Third Punic War, Rome laid siege to the city for 3 years. When they breached its walls, they turned it to ash. They burned libraries, tore down temples, slaughtered or enslaved its people, and the earth itself was cursed. Roman legend claims they salted the soil, ensuring nothing would grow where Carthage once stood. But the greatest violence came after the flames. Rome rewrote Carthage. They called it barbaric, brutal, monstrous, They replaced its history with myth and built a Roman city atop its bones. For centuries, Carthage was remembered not for its brilliance, but as a cautionary tale, told by its conquerors. But history has layers, and beneath the Roman ruins, archaeologists have uncovered the true Carthage. The elegant streets, advanced sewer systems, Punic scripts, and quiet beauty of a civilization lost not to time, but to power. And I wonder, if a city as mighty as Carthage can be rewritten, what else have we been made to forget? If Carthage was erased by flame, then Timgad was forgotten by sand. Far from the coast, on the edge of the Oris Mountains in modern-day Algeria, Rome carved a city out of the wilderness. It was called Thamagadi by its locals, but Rome named it Timgad, a colonial outpost founded in 100 CE by Emperor Trajan, meant to house veterans of the Roman legions. But this was no crude frontier fort. It was a masterpiece. Timgad was a city of geometry and ambition, built in perfect right angles, streets forming a precise grid, a chessboard of stone. Even now, viewed from above, the ruins look as though a Roman engineer had sketched it from memory on parchment. It had an arch, a library, public baths, an amphitheater, temples to Jupiter and other gods, everything a Roman citizen might expect, even in the desert. But this city wasn't just Roman. It was Berber, African, and multilingual. Latin inscriptions stood beside Punic and Greek. Over time, it became a crossroads of ideas, where Roman law blended with indigenous life. But cities, even perfect ones, are not immune to time. By the 5th century, Timgad was slowly abandoned. The Vandal invasions, religious shifts, and economic decline hollowed it out. Sand began to gather in the courtyards. Streets disappeared beneath golden dunes. Eventually, it vanished completely. For over 1,000 years, no one knew it was there. An entire Roman city swallowed by the desert, left unnamed on maps. It was rediscovered only in the late 19th century, beneath the sands, perfectly preserved, as if Rome had simply gone to sleep. Even now, the ruins remain so intact, so precisely laid out, that scholars call it the Pompeii of Africa, except instead of ash, it was wind and time that sealed it away. And I wonder, if a city like this could vanish so gently, without war, without flame, how many more have we never found? What stories lie just beneath the next dune? Some cities are born to be remembered, and yet even they can be forgotten. On the Libyan coast, where the sea kisses the edge of the desert, once stood a city so dazzling it rivaled the beauty of Rome itself. It was called Leptis Magna, and for a time, it was the pride of an empire. Originally a Berber and Phoenician settlement, founded in the 7th century BCE, Leptis Magna slowly grew under Carthaginian influence, until Rome took control after the Punic Wars. And under Roman rule, it didn't just survive, it flourished. But its true golden age began with a man born from its very streets, Lucius Septimius Severus, a native son of Leptis Magna, rose to become Emperor of Rome in 193 CE, the first African-born emperor in Roman history. He never forgot where he came from. Severus poured wealth, stone, and artisans into his homeland. He transformed Leptis Magna into a jewel of the empire, expanding its forum, adorning it with massive basilicas, colonnades, marketplaces, and a triumphal arch built in his honor. Marble glinted in the sun. Its amphitheater roared with voices. The streets were lined with statues and mosaics. And at the heart of it all, a port that welcomed the world. Here, Roman grandeur met North African soul. Latin spoke alongside Berber. Desert spices filled imperial kitchens, and the emperor's legacy shimmered on every wall. But, as always, glory fades. After Severus died, Rome began to retreat. Trade routes shifted. The empire faltered. By the 6th century, earthquakes, invasions, and neglect turned Leptis Magna from a beacon to a ruin. And yet, it didn't vanish beneath flame or sand. It remained whole, silent, and magnificent, uninhabited for centuries, untouched by modern sprawl. Leptis Magna became a city paused in time. When European explorers stumbled upon its remains in the 19th century, they found columns still standing, markets still defined, mosaics glistening beneath dust. It was as if the city had held its breath. Today, it is one of the best preserved Roman cities in the world, yet barely known outside of history books, overshadowed by Pompeii, ignored in Western imagination, and still it waits. A gift from an emperor, a song of stone and sea, not lost, but left behind. Tell me, how does a city disappear when its stones are still standing? How many lives are etched into walls we no longer read? How many emperors are buried beneath silence? We remember the names Rome gave us, but what of the ones it buried? There is a kind of beauty, so delicate, so quiet. It disappears without anyone noticing. That was Sabratha. Nestled along the Mediterranean coast of modern-day Libya, Sabratha was born not of conquest but of commerce. Founded by the Phoenicians, like Carthage and Leptis Magna, it began as a trading post, a place where goods moved and stories drifted in with the tide. By the 2nd century CE, Sabratha had become part of the Roman world, and Rome shaped her. Temples rose, bathhouses steamed. A vast forum stood open to the sea, and at its heart, a theater. Not just any theater, a 3-story marvel of columns, statues, and precision acoustics. Even now, its stage stands firm against the wind, one of the most stunning Roman theaters ever unearthed. The city bloomed with a quiet elegance. It lacked the political fire of Carthage or the imperial pride of Leptis Magna, but in its calm, it thrived until the currents changed. As Roman control slipped, Sabratha faced the slow tide of abandonment. Earthquakes cracked its foundations, trade dwindled, and like her sister cities, she was left alone. By the 7th century, Sabratha faded from the map, not with war or fire, but with silence. And yet, centuries later, when archaeologists brushed away the dust, they found her still watching the sea, columns tilted but proud, mosaics breathing color into stone, the theater waiting for voices to return. But the world had already moved on. Even now, few know her name. She is not taught in classrooms. She is not whispered in travel guides. But here, within this archive, Clio remembers. So many cities, so many names. Carthage, Timgad, Leptis Magna, Sabratha. Once alive with footsteps, voices, laughter, now reduced to ruins and whispers. But perhaps they were never truly lost. Perhaps they were simply waiting for the sand to lift, for the dust to clear, for someone, maybe you, to ask, what else lies beneath our feet? For every city we uncover, how many more remain hidden beneath highways, beneath farms, beneath our forgetfulness? Not all erasures happen with war. Some happen in silence, in neglect, in the slow rewriting of stories until only one version remains. But stories have layers, and some truths refuse to stay buried. These cities may never speak again, but if we listen closely, in the quiet between breaths, we might still hear them. A market song, the rustle of scrolls, the crash of waves against forgotten stone. History does not sleep, it only waits for someone to remember. You've just wandered through echoes of forgotten empires, and I'm grateful you listened. I am Clio, keeper of the archives and guardian of stories the world tried to erase. If this scroll stirred something in you, there are many more waiting to be unrolled. Until then, keep your curiosity alive, and remember, history never truly vanishes. It only waits for the right eyes to see it again.